Hey friends, what's up? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today we'll be tackling 15 different fragrances fit for a king. I realized that I should be wearing like a crown, maybe a crown from Burger King or something like that. But I don't have a crown, so instead, through the magic of editing, now I do. Kingly. Yeah, 15 fragrances fit for a king. I have them all laid out before me, and a lot of these bottles are looking back at me with gold and black, looking very regal. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about some fragrances that will have you smelling absolutely drop dead gorgeous. That's right. Yeah, gorgeous. You're a gorgeous king. Yes, you. When you're looking like that, it's just not fair. You know, normal guys like me, no chance. Before we do jump into this, let me give you kingly codes. Gents10, that will get you 10% off both maxaroma.com and twistedlily.com. So when you shop at those fine establishments, those fine websites, use that code, save yourself a little bit of money. Or perhaps you would rather shop at luckyscent.com, and if that's the case, use the code 10GENTS. It'll do the same thing, 10% off. All right, let's dive right into these fragrances here. The first one I want to talk to you about is from Mask Milano, and it's called Latessa. And I'll also link these in the description below in case you want to check any of them out. All you have to do with this one to know that it's kingly, just look at that presentation. Yeah, this is one of those presentations that feels expensive. And by that, I mean, it's just really heavy, like extremely heavy. You can tell, I mean, looking at the bottle, because the entire bottom inch of this is just straight up thick glass. That's right. You have to enunciate that because I'm talking about thick glass. Don't want that to sound like something different. Then you have these nice gold colorations to it. It just looks fantastic. But that doesn't really matter, I guess, at the end of the day. What matters is how it smells. And how does this one smell? Well, also fantastic. Of course, it doesn't hurt that this has a note of champagne. That way you can go around and try to flex at people and be like, yeah, my fragrance that I'm wearing, it's got a note of champagne, because that's how expensive my taste is. I have to wear stuff that smells champagne-like. But then the main draw here is iris, and it's a darn good smelling iris. Kind of straddles the line between going full-on powdery soapy and makeup-y lipsticky. It's kind of in between, a little bit of both. Also has leather, bergamot, and neroli. This one smells great from opening to dry down. After that, we're going to talk about Terre d'Hermès. This is the Pure Parfum edition. You could also go with the Eau de Toilette. You could also go with Eau Intense Vetiver. I mean, you could really go with most Terre d'Hermès fragrances. Orange, wood, flint, and oak moss, some of the notes in the fragrance. The reason I went with the Pure Parfum as compared to the normal Eau de Toilette is this one is a little bit richer. It's also slightly more expensive, but you would expect that because this is the Parfum edition. Technically on the side it says Parfum Pure Perfume. So yeah, I think it's a really good woody vetiver fragrance. The flintiness I don't think is overdone on the Parfum. As I said, quite smooth. A really nice take on the Terre d'Hermès DNA, just ever so slightly tweaked for the better if you're looking for something a little bit more elegant. Now this one is cheap. It's from Lalique. It's Pour Homme. Yeah, Lalique Pour Homme. You'll also see this sometimes advertised as like Lalique Lion because it has this lion on the bottle. So depending on where you look, it might have a slightly different name, but it's the same fragrance. Lavender, rosemary, cedar, iris, and oak moss, some of the notes in the fragrance. This one smells similar to Creed's Bois du Portugal, only at like a tenth of the price. Maybe not a tenth, maybe it's like an eighth of the price, but you get the idea. It's cheap. Way cheaper than that one. And as with most Lalique fragrances, the quality here is so much higher than you would expect for the price that you pay. This one is a little bit more mature, more elegant, refined, so it is going to appeal more to guys middle-aged and older. Younger guys probably are going to view this as being a little bit too dated smelling, but I think that this is an elegant masterpiece for a great price for men. And this is also a masterpiece. This is a piece of masters. It has been knocked off, it has been cloned, it has been duped, it has inspired so many other releases out there. And yeah, some of those fragrances out there that took inspiration from this one are done really well. But this one still is an amazing scent. It's one I'll always own. It's from Tom Ford. It's Oud Wood. Yeah, good old Oud Wood. This is like on the Mount Rushmore of private blend fragrances, in my opinion. It's like what? Tuscan leather, tobacco vanille, Oud Wood, and then that fourth one. Yeah, that one I say is more open to interpretation. A lot of people are going to have different ideas on that. Some people are going to say Amber Absolute. Some people might even say like Neroli Portofino. Really depends on that one. But those three, for me, are shoe-ins. Rosewood, cardamom, sandalwood, vanilla, and oud, some of the notes in the fragrance, and it's just one of those top-notch, very wearable takes on oud, where instead of leaning into the more divisive aspects that oud can bring depending on the accord or the type of oud that you're using, instead they lean more into that very sexy, almost mysterious, spicy, dark woodiness. So no poopy smells, no pee-pee smells, no barnyard, just wearability. Next up, Dunhill Agar Wood. We go from oud wood to agar wood. Suede, iris, oud, tobacco, and saffron, some of the notes in the fragrance. Dunhill, let's be honest, has a lot of fragrances that smell crazy cheap and are not that great. But this one, along with a bunch of the other ones that are in this collection, are actually very good. And a lot of times you can find this at discounters for a steep discount over what they typically go for. And at that point, it is just icing, it's gravy. These are solid scents, and agar wood is one of the better ones in my opinion. It has some similarities to ombre leather from Tom Ford, almost like you mixed a little bit of that with a little bit of like Gucci Guilty Absolute or something. So ombre leather with a slight hint of more of an edge. Great quality. But maybe you want something just more wearable, more easygoing, something like that, and you could go for this Gold Blend from Ralph Lauren. Technically Ralph Lauren Polo Blue Gold Blend. So this has ginger and citrus. So you got that opening that's just gonna be appealing to pretty much everybody on earth. You got a little melon in there, a little melanoma to shake things up, a little bit different. And then you have incense and amber. So you get this nice smokiness, gives it a little bit more of an elegant touch. The amber, some warmth, some sweetness as it dries down. One of the best Polo Blue flankers on the market because this one actually smells classy and well done, as opposed to some, not all, but some Polo Blue fragrances that just come across as like a more generic gym fragrance. Now let's get an obvious one out of the way. Jubilation 25 from Amouage. Yeah, Juby 25 is just an obvious choice, as I said, but you got to include it. Blackberry, honey, oud, myrrh, olibanum, some of the notes in the fragrance. So it's got sweetness, it's got tartness, it has this balsamic richness. You've got spice that's sprinkled throughout that thing. Jubilation 25 is the first fragrance for me that really like opened my eyes up and got me interested in Amouage and collecting Amouage fragrances. It's just one of those scents that you smell it and you're like, oh, like this is elegance personified right here. Is it the easiest thing to pull off compared to some of the other things in this list? Not always, but for me, it is always going to be one of those top-notch fragrances as far as being just attention-grabbing, but also very classy and with the Middle Eastern flair. And speaking about fragrances with the Middle Eastern flair, next one we'll talk about is Dolce & Gabbana's The One Royal Night. With a name like that, it just kind of, it does the job for me, you know. I want a kingly fragrance, a fragrance that will make me smell like I'm royalty. This one is Royal Night, here you go. Simple, but it works. Cardamom, amber, sandalwood, cedar. Some of the notes in the scent. It does throw it back to the one eau de parfum. So you've got that mass appeal, you've got that compliment factor, you've got that versatility, at least for cooler weather months. I mean, sure, more people would say it's better suited for an evening type situation, like a date night or something like that. But really, with how appealing this is, you can pull it off about whenever. The added emphasis on woods there does give it maybe a little more of a masculine edge to some people as it dries down. Not that the one eau de parfum is not a masculine scent, but just the additional woodiness some people actually prefer over the original. Let's switch things up. Next, we're gonna go with a Prada, and the one that I'm gonna go with here is just Amber Pour Homme. Yeah, just little old Amber Pour Homme. You know, it just keeps on keeping on. People don't really talk about it in any huge kind of way, but it's just always there. It's not like the Luna Rossa line or the Prada L'Homme line that got just crazy love. You know, people really talking those up as the best this type fragrance or that type fragrance, like Luna Rossa Carbon. Oh, you know, you want those compliments, but maybe Sauvage is a little bit too much. Get this. Or the perfect office fragrance ever of all time, Prada L'Homme. And then Prada L'Homme Intense, even better. Prada, what are you doing? Well, you get rid of it. But yeah, this one just as good in an office type situation as Prada L'Homme. It has compliment factor, It's really classy. It's elegant. And yeah, it's been out longer. So that's part of it. That's part of it for sure. But this never was, you know, as much a part of the fragrance zeitgeist as the Luna Rossa line and the L'Homme line, at least not in my opinion. So this has saffron, vanilla, neroli, and myrrh as some of the notes in the fragrance, which is kind of an interesting note breakdown there. We've also got musk, and of course the fragrance is named Amber Pour Homme. So this one is one of those fragrances that's kind of like a meeting of worlds. You've got that Prada soapiness, you've got that cleanliness that you expect from the house, but then you also have this warmth, a little more depth, a little more body to the fragrance, so it doesn't end up just being run-of-the-mill, just boring soap. Very well done fragrance, smells great, and if you like Prada clean scents, you should check that one out. It's like a little twist on that idea. Let's keep it amber with Amber Cologne up next from Bortnikov. Now this one is probably my favorite Bortnikov that I've smelled so far. I think it's just so well done. It's got this almost candied sweet floral aspect to it. It has citrus, it's got ambergris, it has sandalwood, it has jasmine. It's just this very elegant but appealing sweet floral cologne. Like, it's one of those fragrances you can spray on in spring or early fall or even summer potentially and just smell like $1,000,000. And even though it is floral forward, I think guys can easily pull that off. So well done. Amber Cologne is a scent that you gotta sample at some point. Maybe it won't be for you, but for me, that's one of those scents where I smelled it and just like, oof, immediately was caught off guard. Wasn't what I was expecting, but it was even better than what I was expecting. And then after that, the last amber scent here, Amber Oud from Raja Parfum. Now this is crazy expensive, like extremely expensive. And this was one of those, like, white whale isn't the word for it because it's not like really hard to find, but it was one of those fragrances that so many people had their eyes set on, and I did as well, for a long time, trying to get a bottle for a decent price, you know, because it was always hyped as like the pinnacle of amber fragrances by some people, and other people would be like, oh, this is like the best, most wearable oud. Now look at the color of that. It looks like molasses, you know, it looks like motor oil. Don't spray that on your white shirt, right? There's ambergris in here, there's saffron, there's cinnamon, there's oud, there's rose, there's fig. There's a lot going on. It's really sweet, and it has this nice floral undertone. I don't even know if I'd call it an undertone. It's there through the entirety of the scent, but the quality is there. It is insane. The wearability is there. Like most Raja Parfum fragrances, it has this sparkle to it, this effervescence where it just like leaps off your skin almost. It is, though, as I said, crazy expensive, but if you can pony up the money, that is one of those like special occasion scents that will take it to the next level. Then we're gonna go with the newer one next, Armani Code Parfum. What do you guys think about this bottle? Some people love it, some people hate it, because obviously they switched up from the original Armani Code style. One thing I gotta give them props for is that magnetic cap. All right. Tonka, cedar, bergamot, clary sage, and iris. Some of the notes in this fragrance, and this one surprised me at how fresh it is off the top. It makes it very wearable, easy to pull off, very appealing. It doesn't hit you with like just an avalanche of darkness. It should be a metal band, Avalanche of Darkness. And, you know, just a ton of warmth and sweetness off the top. Instead, they keep it very fresh and appealing initially. Then as it dries down, it does get a little bit deeper as compared to the other Armani Code fragrances, well, referring back to the Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum. I think Armani Code Parfum is a really nice take on the Armani Code DNA. It modernizes it. It makes it very classy and elegant as well. So that one, really nice. Now let's throw it back to Guerlain Habit Rouge. This is the Eau de Toilette. Now this one is for sure, in my opinion, not going to appeal to younger guys. So middle-aged and older, you know, people that appreciate fragrances that have a more classic style to them. Somebody looking at wearing stuff like Invictus or Eau de Parfum, stuff like that. No offense to those fragrances, obviously, but you know, if that's more your style, something like this, I don't think is gonna work. Code Parfum, that could work. This, So you got vanilla, leather, citrus woods, rose, and carnation, among a whole bunch of other notes. So this one is gonna have that masculine floral kind of scent profile right at the front. Like that's there, you can't avoid it. It does have that vanillic sweetness pretty much right away. I mean, it's fresh when you spray it on, but also quite sweet, again, in a throwback way. And it does get obviously a bit heavier as it goes on, as it dries down, but I think it's a very classy fragrance that's pretty much overlooked nowadays. And then we have 1920 The Origin. I think the bottle's pretty cool. I mean, it feels like a little bit cheap, where that's plasticky and you feel like it would be, you know, metallic and have a little higher end feel to it. But to be fair, from discounters, it's not very expensive. Cedar, cardamom, bergamot, cumin, and tea. Some of the notes in this fragrance, and it smells similar to Cartier's Declaration. So it's like a little twist on that style. Obviously that fragrance could be in this list just as well, and you can get it at a more affordable price than the Cartier, so a nice little choice. And then the last fragrance, possibly the most obvious of them all. You're talking about fragrances that are fit for a king. You gotta probably put in the fragrance that a lot of people would call the king of men's fragrances, right? So that would be this one, Aventus, or as the Creed say, Aventus. Pineapple, bergamot, musk, and birch, along with black currant. The notes in the fragrance, well, some of the notes, everybody knows this one, right? You either have this or you've got like Club de Nuit Intense Man or Explorer or something like that. The very fresh, sweet pineapple opening, pineapple and bergamot. Very appealing, very easy to wear as it dries down. A little tartness from the black currant. You get some sweetness that comes out from the vanilla. And then, of course, the birch, giving you a smoky finish. So Creed, Aventus, you got to include it. So that'll wrap it up. 15 fragrances fit for a king. And you, my friend, are a king. I want to thank you guys for hanging with me here until the end. Please stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.